Welcome to True Crime, the Untold Stories. In today's episode, we explore a chilling case from Denver, Colorado, where betrayal and emotional turmoil led to a tragic end. This story involves a successful tech entrepreneur, his distraught wife and children, and a teenage nanny, all caught in a web of deceit. We'll unravel the details of how a seemingly ideal family was destroyed by cheating, lies, and a desperate act of murder. The victim in this tragic tale was Weston Winterer, a 41-year-old tech entrepreneur living in Denver, Colorado. Weston was the co-founder and CEO of a successful tech company that specialized in innovative software solutions. His company, which had gained recognition in the tech industry, was covered in technology magazines like Wired and Forbes. Weston graduated from Stanford University with a degree in computer science. Known for drive and ambition, Weston spent long hours at work and had a tendency to always put his work before personal relationships. His friends and associates often described him as charismatic, but also domineering. He was also known as someone who enjoyed the finer things in life, such as luxury cars and high-end electronic gadgets. Weston was married to Rhea Winterer, a 45-year-old interior designer with a talent for creating stylish and functional spaces. They had 2 children together, a son, Wesley, 7, and a daughter, Reese, 6, and lived in a large, modern home in Denver, which was fashionably decorated with the latest trends and designs, reflecting Rhea's talents. In August 2022, Weston was busy preparing for a major product launch scheduled for the end of the month. His team was working on new cutting-edge AI software that promised to revolutionize the tech industry. The anticipation was high, and Weston was excited about the potential success of this new product. He was described by his friends and colleagues during this period as intensely focused, spending long hours at the office feverishly preparing for the launch. Weston's personal life was also notable, though not for positive reasons. He had recently brought a new nanny into the household, a beautiful 18-year-old named Delaney Landreth. Delaney had been hired to help with the children, and her presence created a stir within the family. Weston had openly begun an affair with Delaney, which caused significant strain in his marriage, especially after Delaney had announced that she was pregnant with Weston's baby. Days before his death, Weston seemed preoccupied but remained hopeful about his future. He was looking forward to a vacation he had planned to celebrate his achievements, which was supposed to start in early September. His focus was split between his work and the growing issues at home, including the tension caused by Delaney's pregnancy. Weston Winterer was a complex figure whose professional success contrasted sharply with the turmoil in his personal life. And his death on August 15, 2022, would reveal just how fraught and ultimately tragic his life had become. On the evening of Monday, August 15, 2022, a shocking discovery was made at the home of Weston Winterer in Denver, Colorado. According to Rhea Winterer, Weston's wife, it was around 7 p.m. when she arrived home from a day of shopping and errands. Earlier in the day, Rhea had visited the Cherry Creek Shopping Center, one of Denver's most popular malls, to pick up some home decor items and run a few personal errands. When Rhea entered their spacious, modern home, she recounted that she noticed that something was amiss. The house was unusually quiet. The couple's children, who had been visiting their grandparents all day, were not home. Rhea called out for Weston, but there was no response. As she walked into the living room, Rhea saw Weston lying on the couch, motionless. His favorite evening cocktail glass was on the coffee table next to him. The drink was a custom-made blend that Weston had enjoyed daily. Rhea's initial reaction was one of confusion and panic. She tried to wake Weston, shaking him gently and calling his name, but he did not respond. Recognizing the seriousness of the situation, she immediately dialed 911. The emergency call was made at approximately 7:20 p.m. During the call, Rhea's voice was filled with distress and urgency. She informed the dispatcher that her husband appeared to be unconscious and unresponsive. Rhea was visibly shaken, her face pale and her hands trembling. When paramedics arrived around 7:30 p.m., they found Rhea in a state of shock. She provided them with the details she knew and pointed out the cocktail glass. Despite their best efforts to revive him, the paramedics pronounced Weston dead at the scene. The police were then summoned and began their initial investigation, focusing on the living room where Weston was found. They noticed no signs of a struggle or forced entry, which made the case even more puzzling. The cocktail glass and its contents were collected as evidence, and the scene was cordoned off for further examination. Ria's emotional response was a mix of panic and sorrow, which set the stage for the complex investigation into her husband's sudden and mysterious death that was to follow. The Denver Police Department responded to the call about Weston Winterer's death on the evening of August 15, 2022. By around 7:45 p.m., Detectives Luna Quintana and Sean Bryant arrived at the Winterers' home. The house, a modern property with sleek lines and fashionable, high-tech features, was located in a quiet, upscale neighborhood known for its large homes and well-manicured lawns. Detective Luna Quintana, a 43-year-old known for her thorough and meticulous investigative style, and Detective Sean Bryant, a 38-year-old with a reputation for calm and focused work, were assigned to the case. Both detectives had been involved in homicide cases in the past, and their expertise was crucial in unraveling this complex situation. Upon arrival, the detectives began by examining the living room where Weston was found. The scene was unsettling but not overtly chaotic. The room was neatly arranged, with Weston lying on the couch and his favorite evening cocktail glass on the coffee table. The cocktail, a custom blend from a high-end recipe book, was now a key piece of evidence. The detectives immediately noticed there were no signs of physical struggle, forced entry, or anything out of place in the room. This made the situation even more puzzling. There was no visible blood or signs of violence on the victim. Instead, the scene suggested that Weston's death might have been sudden and unexpected. The first task for the detectives was to secure the area. They carefully collected the cocktail glass, which was still half full, and sent it to the lab for analysis. The initial suspicion was that the drink might have been tampered with, and if so, the toxicology report would confirm this. They also took fingerprint, DNA, and other samples from the surrounding areas and interviewed Ria Winterer to get her account of the events. In addition to the drink, the detectives collected Weston's phone, laptop, and personal items to look for any clues that might explain his sudden death. They checked his recent calls and messages, hoping to find any information that could indicate a motive or suggest who might be involved. The investigation also involved checking the security cameras installed around the neighborhood, as well as interviewing neighbors and anyone who might have had contact with the Winterer family recently. The detectives worked late into the night, following every lead and ensuring that all potential evidence was collected and preserved. The crime scene was methodically processed, and yet the lack of immediate, obvious signs of foul play made the investigation all the more challenging. Nevertheless, the detectives were determined to uncover the truth behind Weston Winterer's mysterious death. Ria Winterer, the 45-year-old wife of the murdered tech entrepreneur Weston Winterer, quickly became the focus of the investigation into his death. As an interior designer known for her impeccable taste, Ria had built a reputation for creating beautiful spaces. Her work was often featured in local design magazines and showcased on social media. However, her personal life had recently been in turmoil. In August 2022, Ria was grappling with the fallout from her husband's affair with 18-year-old Delaney Landreth, the family's nanny. Delaney had recently announced that she was pregnant with Weston's baby, and Ria had been open about her struggles with friends, expressing deep pain and frustration over her husband's unfaithfulness. On August 16, 2022, the morning after Weston's death, Ria was interviewed by detectives Luna Quintana and Sean Bryant. When the detectives questioned Ria, they noted her distress. Ria explained that she had returned home from a day of shopping at Cherry Creek Shopping Center. She found Weston unresponsive on the couch with his favorite evening cocktail, a custom-made drink he had enjoyed nightly. Ria's account of the day's events was detailed and matched the timeline provided by the 911 call she made. She spoke about the emotional strain of her husband's affair and her feelings of betrayal. Despite her apparent distress, the detectives were aware that emotional responses could sometimes conceal deeper motives or intentions. Ria's access to Weston's personal items, including his drinks, made her a key suspect. She had the opportunity to tamper with his evening cocktail, which was found next to him when he was discovered. The cocktail was a high-end mix from a recipe book Weston had recently posted about on his Instagram account. The detectives also learned that Rhea had been attending therapy sessions to deal with her emotional pain. Friends and family had noticed her increasing sadness and depression, which painted a picture of someone struggling under the weight of personal problems. Yet despite her emotional state, Rhea insisted that she would never harm Weston. At this early stage in the investigation, Rhea remained a significant figure in the case. Her access to Weston and the turmoil in her personal life were possible motives that the detectives could not ignore as they sought to understand the circumstances surrounding Weston Winterer's death. Delaney Landreth, the beautiful 18-year-old nanny for the Winterer family, was another key suspect in the investigation into Weston Winterer's death. Delaney, who had recently moved into the family's basement, was at the center of the affair with Weston. Only a few months before, Weston had brought Delaney into the household without consulting Rhea, abruptly announcing that she would be the children's new nanny. She was promptly given living quarters in the family's furnished basement, and in the weeks that followed, Weston would increasingly spend more of his free time there with Delaney. He did not even attempt to keep his affair with Delaney a secret from Rhea, often slipping away in the middle of the night to go down to the basement to visit her. Delaney was described as warm and caring, but also somewhat immature. She had been hired to care for the Winterers' children and was known for her sweet demeanor. However, her involvement with Weston had added a complicated layer to the case. The recent revelation by Delaney that she was pregnant with Weston's baby had created a tense atmosphere in the Winterers' household that created significant conflict between him and Rhea. When detectives Luna Quintana and Sean Bryant interviewed Delaney on August 17, 2022, they noted that she was nervous but cooperative. Delaney explained that she had been working for the Winterer family for several months and had moved into the basement apartment as part of her employment. She told the detectives that she had been off on the day Weston died, running errands and meeting friends. Delaney described her relationship with Weston as complicated and told the detectives that she was looking forward to having Weston's baby and was hoping to secure financial support for her baby through him. During the interrogation, Delaney was asked about her interactions with Weston and Rhea. She stated that she had only seen Rhea a few times since moving into the basement and that their interactions were polite but limited. Delaney's alibi, which included time spent at various locations around Denver, was checked, but there was no immediate evidence linking her directly to the crime. Detectives found no concrete evidence connecting her to the poisoning. Her involvement in the case remained a subject of investigation, but the primary focus continued to be on other suspects. Delaney's role in the investigation highlighted the complexities of the situation. Her pregnancy and relationship with Weston made her a significant part of the case, but the detectives needed more evidence to determine her level of involvement, if any, in Weston Winterer's death. Brendan Adamson, the 42-year-old business partner of Weston Winterer, also became a key suspect in the investigation into Weston's death. Brendan was a well-known figure in the tech industry, often mentioned in industry blogs and news articles for his work with Weston. However, their relationship had recently been strained due to business disagreements and financial troubles. On August 19, 2022, Detective Luna Quintana and Detective Sean Bryant interviewed Brendan at his office in downtown Denver. Brendan, who was known for his calm and collected demeanor, seemed nervous during the interview. He had recently come under scrutiny by the IRS for some tax issues related to his tech ventures, which added pressure to his current situation. During the interview, Brendan admitted to having had conflicts with Weston over business decisions. The two had been working together for years, but their relationship had soured recently. Brendan had racked up mounting debts in relation to his upcoming product launch, and it had created strain between the partners. This created a potential motive for Brendan to wish Weston harm. Detectives asked Brendan about his whereabouts on the day and evening of Weston's death. Brendan explained that he had been at a technology conference in San Francisco, which was confirmed by flight records and conference attendance logs. Despite this solid alibi, the detectives remained cautious, knowing that the poison could have been introduced to the vodka even prior to the evening of Weston's death, and that having an alibi didn't necessarily mean Brendan was not involved in the crime. However, Brendan's calm and collected responses during the interview did not reveal much about his potential involvement. He expressed shock and sadness over Weston's death and insisted he had no reason to harm his business partner. Brendan's reaction was consistent with someone who had been under significant stress but maintained a plausible alibi. The detectives continued to investigate Brendan's background and financial situation. They also examined his business records to see if there were any links between his financial troubles and the crime. Although Brendan's involvement was not immediately clear, his strained relationship with Weston and the financial issues between them still made him a suspect in the investigation. As the investigation progressed, Brendan remained under scrutiny, with detectives continuing to carefully analyze all the evidence to determine what, if any, his role was in Weston Winterer's death. On August 22, 2022, a week after the death of Weston Winterer, the police received a crucial tip that led them to new evidence in the case. Detective Luna Quintana and Detective Sean Bryant were following up on leads when they discovered something important. The new evidence came from a search of Rhea Winterer's belongings. While looking through her purse, detectives found a receipt from a local liquor store. The receipt showed that Rhea had purchased several items, including a bottle of high-end vodka that matched the brand used in Weston's favorite evening cocktail. The purchase had been made on the day before Weston's death, and the detectives were curious about its connection to the case. The vodka bottle had been emptied and placed in the garbage, but was located in the home and sent to the lab for analysis. The forensic team discovered traces of a rare poison in the bottle, which matched the poison found in Weston's system during his autopsy. This finding suggested that the vodka Rhea had bought might have been used to poison Weston. The police were also able to trace Rhea's movements more precisely. Security camera footage from a store near the liquor shop showed Rhea buying the vodka. The footage was time-stamped, confirming the time she was in the store. Detectives Quintana and Bryant reviewed this new evidence carefully. They were aware that while Rhea's purchase of the vodka was suspicious, it did not necessarily mean she was the one who poisoned Weston. They continued to investigate her involvement and question her again about the receipt and the vodka. Rhea maintained that she had no idea the vodka was connected to the crime. She explained that she had bought it for her own personal use and not for Weston. Yet despite her claims, the presence of the poison in the vodka bottle was a significant development. As the investigation continued, the detectives focused on this new lead while still examining other aspects of the case. They needed to determine whether Rhea was involved in the poisoning or if there were other explanations for the evidence found. The discovery of the poisoned vodka added a new layer of complexity to the case. The detectives were now working to piece together how the poison ended up in Weston's drink and who was responsible for the crime. On August 25, 2022, just over a week after Weston Winterer's death, the police made a breakthrough in the case. Detectives Luna Quintana and Sean Bryant identified Rhea Winterer, Weston's 45-year-old wife, as the killer. The discovery came after careful examination of all the evidence collected, including the poisoned vodka bottle and Rhea's recent behavior. Rhea was known for her role as an interior designer, featured in local Denver magazines and design blogs. Her public image was that of a successful and elegant professional, but her personal life had been lately marred by turmoil. The affair between Weston and the Winterer's 18-year-old nanny, Delaney Landreth, had caused significant strain in her marriage. Detectives reviewed Rhea's activities and found that she had been seen near the liquor store where the vodka had been purchased on the day before Weston's death. Surveillance footage showed Rhea's car parked close to the store. A neighborhood security camera also recorded Rhea arriving at her home at 6:15 p.m., not 7 p.m., as she had stated significantly earlier, and giving her plenty of time to poison Weston's drink. More significantly, however, was the discovery of searches on her computer for the best fast-acting poisons and for an online order for the same poison used to poison Weston, tying her directly to the crime. On the morning of August 25th, Rhea was arrested at her home in Denver. The weather was clear and warm, reflecting a typical summer day in Colorado. Detective Quintana and Detective Bryant, along with a team of officers, went to the Winterer's residence to make the arrest. Rhea was found in her home office, working on design plans, when the police arrived. Rhea appeared shocked but calm when the police took her into custody. She was informed of the charges against her, which included first-degree murder for the poisoning of Weston. During her arrest, Rhea did not show signs of aggression or panic. Instead, she seemed resigned to the situation, though she maintained her innocence. The police detailed how Rhea had used her access to Weston's evening drinks to slip the poison into his cocktail. Rhea had admitted during questioning that she felt overwhelmed by the affair and the emotional strain it caused. Although she had initially planned to confront Weston, her emotional state led her to act impulsively. Rhea Winterer's arrest marked a dramatic turn in the case, and the focus shifted to preparing for the upcoming trial. Rhea's family, including her 2 children, had been supportive during the investigation, but were now in a state of shock and facing the difficult reality of her arrest. As the legal process began, the community was left to grapple with the shocking turn of events as the detectives continued to build their case against Rhea Winterer. The trial of Rhea Winterer began on September 30th, 2022, a little more than a month after her arrest. Rhea was represented by Cynthia Lynch Fleming, a 39-year-old defense attorney known for her skill as a highly capable defender. Lynch Fleming argued that Rhea had acted impulsively and that her emotional state at the time of the crime should be taken into account. Lynch Fleming painted Rhea as a deeply hurt and abused woman who had been overwhelmed by her husband's affair and the stress it caused. The defense's main argument was that Rhea did not plan the murder, but acted in a moment of intense emotional distress. On the prosecution side, District Attorney Terrence Matthews, age 52, presented a strong case against Rhea, including the surveillance footage showing her near the liquor store, the searches found on her computer, and the poisoned vodka. He argued that Rhea had a clear motive and had used her position in the home to carry out the poisoning. Matthews emphasized that the premeditated nature of the crime, despite Rhea's claims of impulsiveness, made it a case of first-degree murder. The victim's family, including Weston's parents and siblings, attended the trial and were visibly emotional throughout the proceedings. They were seeking justice for Weston and were closely following the details of the case as they unfolded in court. On the final day of the trial, Rhea Winterer took the stand in her own defense. In dramatic testimony, she admitted to the poisoning, but insisted that the act of poisoning Weston's drink that night was not premeditated. She had initially planned to confront Weston and demand he end the affair. However, during a heated argument that evening after she had returned home, she decided to poison him impulsively. After several weeks of testimony and evidence presentation, the jury reached a verdict on October 14, 2022. Rhea Winterer was found guilty of first-degree murder. The jury agreed with the prosecution that Rhea had planned the poisoning, despite her claims of acting on impulse. On October 28, 2022, Rhea was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The judge's decision was met with mixed reactions. While some saw the sentence as just punishment for a premeditated crime, while others believed it was a harsh outcome given Rhea's emotional state. The trial's outcome had a significant impact on Weston Winterer's family, who felt a sense of closure but continued to grapple with the loss of their loved one. Rhea's sentencing was a dramatic end to a case that had highlighted the complexities of the emotional and legal issues involved. Hey, interested in more real-life murder mysteries? Be sure to like our content and subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories. Do you have any thoughts about this case or have a case of your own you'd like us to investigate? Leave us a comment. Until then, stay safe. After Rhea Winterer's trial concluded in October 2022, the focus shifted from the courtroom to the aftermath of the trial and how those involved moved forward. Rhea Winterer began serving her life sentence at the Denver Women's Correctional Facility in Denver. Rhea's life behind bars was reported to be challenging, with adjustments to prison life and dealing with the emotional impact of her actions. Weston Winterer's family faced their own journey of recovery. Weston's children were taken in by his parents, and the family continued to receive support from the community as they struggled to find normalcy after the trial. Weston's family focused on honoring Weston's memory, and while the emotional toll of losing Weston made it a difficult period for them, they worked to support each other through the grieving process. Delaney Landreth, the 18-year-old nanny, who had initially been a suspect but later proved to be less involved, also had her life changed by the case. Though she had claimed that the baby was Weston's and had hoped to receive financial support from him, a subsequent paternity lawsuit and DNA test proved that the baby was not Weston's. Delaney gave birth to her baby in early April 2023 and moved away from Denver to start a new life. She was last reported to be living in a small town in Colorado with her boyfriend. Brendan Adamson, Weston's business partner, continued his work in the tech industry, but faced ongoing scrutiny from media and business circles. His financial troubles were somewhat resolved as the product launch Weston had been working on turned out to be a success, which allowed Brendan to reorganize their business ventures. He kept a low profile in the aftermath, avoiding public appearances and focusing on rebuilding his reputation and career. Detectives Luna Quintana and Sean Bryant, who had worked hard on the case, continued their work on other investigations. They were recognized for their efforts in solving the case and went on to be featured in local news stories celebrating their successful work on other cases. As time passed, the impact of the murder of Weston Winterer remained a dark stain on the community of Denver's collective memory, leaving a lasting mark on all those involved. The case of Weston Winterer is a stark reminder of how betrayal and impulsive decisions can lead to irrevocable actions with devastating consequences. Thank you for joining us on True Crime, The Untold Stories. Until next time, stay vigilant and stay safe.